not sure if the United States has actually ever done any military conquest like that. I think we bought most of our shit. But I say that with low levels of conviction. But I'm pretty sure we bought most of our land or whatever. At least not in the last 100 years, maybe? Spanish-American War. I don't remember what territorial transfer looked like after like wars in like the 1800s or whatever. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Which was, as it turns out, that's the most dangerous job because the Russians can tell when you turn on the drone. And it's mainly an artillery war, so they would then, hit the drone operator with artillery. And they had to turn it on while they were in the back of a pickup truck and keep the truck moving. And then he became a machine gunner for that unit. But, the people that he was in that unit with are almost all gone.
Man, is he still going over there?
No, he came back here to finish law school, and he's now, thank God, practicing law.
Right on, right on.
Why does Hassan use the same talking point he's got? It's just like the fuck America anti-establishment talking points. It's like all the same. I think these guys get like a pamphlet or they get a bunch of emails or whatever that gives them like, here's your marching orders for today. And it's always the same tired, boring anti-American talking points, anti-US intervention. They all end up somehow being pro-Russia or at the very least like indifferent to Russia. They all end up shitting on anything that's relating to, anything positive to the US is all shit on. Yeah, anything against the US is all championed. Atrocities on the other side are either denied or downplayed. Anything on the U.S. side is either exaggerated or invented. Like it's the same shit over. It's always like this every single time.
You had mentioned something else, switching gears a little bit, how we would instigate China into invading Taiwan. How do you think?
What's the point of these podcasts? God, it's so boring. I couldn't do it. How do you guys listen to this shit? We just listen to some guy jerking off like, oh, let me tell you the same story that you've heard 50 million times. The media consumption for the average human being is so fucking pathetic. I would kill myself if I listened to this shit every day. Why did I? I used to listen to conservative talk radio a lot, but they were funny. I feel like they were funny. Yeah, no, I guess it was. Yeah, listening to Rush Limbaugh and stuff shit on Democrats shit was funny. It was funny, yeah.
Think we would instigate China into invading Taiwan?
If we keep trying to militarize the South China Sea,
it's South China Sea. That's all the United States' fault. Do you think in the next? We'll listen to this for 5 more minutes. Do you think in any of this is any of the blame whatsoever going to be placed on China at all? Any of it, or is all of it going to be the fault of the United States?
They're going to respond by militarizing it themselves. And it's the same thing we did with Russia. If you treat somebody like an enemy and you say we want a hot war, they got to start arming themselves. And China would never wanted to put a lot of money into its military, and it never has. But now it's putting huge amounts of money, and it's
the whole Chinese military is literally just there because of the United States. The U.S. is the whole reason. Why did the U.S. even feel threatened if China never was even going to put money into the military? Like, wait, so you're saying, just real quick, you're saying China never wanted to put in any money at all towards its military. Well, then why did the U.S. even feel the need to militarize anything at all if China has no military? There should be no threat there then, right?
China's very smart. And it's a rich country. They have huge cash reserves, and they have...
I think one of the biggest misconceptions, and I think this is more generally thought of, warning, I'm entering areas that I have very low levels of conviction, very low levels of detailed knowledge of, okay? But I think there's been a Western myth of Chinese competency where decades and decades ago, we've been talking about forever how China is like secretly, they're ran so smoothly. These authoritarian regimes can respond to situations instantly with lightning precision, and the Belt Road Initiative and the scams that they do in these African countries are all so smart, and it's so efficient, and it's so amazing. And I think as the years have drawn on, I think people have largely changed their perspectives on that, where it's like, China definitely has a lot of issues. They've got a lot of issues with satisfying the middle class. They've got a lot of issues with how they deal with other countries that don't go as smoothly as they want. They do have issues rolling out some of these larger projects that end up not being as efficient as they want them to be. China's not really this like ultra efficient, economic soft power blitzkrieging force throughout the world that I guess in the West we thought they would be overnight. But obviously this myth will still carry on in the minds of people that hate this country.
Money, and it's China's very smart. And it's a rich country. huge cash reserves, and they have the ability to quickly build a military, and they're building a smart military. You know, they're now, because of these hypersonic weapons, a lot of the assumptions on, you know, our military, by the way, is in I don't know how to
He's not gonna find a way to. He's not about to shit on our military at the same time. The only thing that apparently we're prioritizing, and the most evil country on the planet, the United States, that is like doing all these. He's not about to also make the claim that our military is useless or can't do anything, right? I don't know where he's going from here. Let's see.
Our military, by the way, is in I don't know how to politely say it, but it's in the crapper.
Damn, the U.S. just can't do fucking anything, I guess. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. I guess we just suck at fucking literally every fucking thing possible is horrible of the military. The one thing that apparently we're so corrupt, you would think that this would be the one thing we do well if we're literally destroying the fucking world because of the military industrial complex, forcing people to buy our shit and taking over and doing all. You'd think at least our military was okay, but I guess not. Okay, Jesus.
You know, the jets don't work. The equipment is broken. The enlistments are down, I think, by 45%. And there's so much waste and so much corruption, and the acquisitions part.
The jets don't work. That feel when our planes just fall out of the sky.
And the whole assumption, you know, that upon which NATO is based.
These are almost word for word Mearsheimer talking points. Okay, I stopped listening to that retard years ago. Thank God. So I haven't heard the new updated marching orders that he's been delivering to people.
Is that we can get 1 million troops across the Atlantic Ocean if there is an invasion from the east. But we can't do that anymore because these hypersonic weapons, which there's really no defense.
And he believes the Russian propaganda that they have true hypersonic missiles? He believes everything Russia says? But nothing the United States says? Russia probably does not have actual guided, what do you call them? True hypersonic weapons are weapons that can be maneuvered after the launch, like through, there's a name for these. True hypersonic doesn't just mean you're moving at a certain speed. It means that you can navigate them at a certain speed. Russia does not. I don't think Russia has these types of missiles. I think it was the Kislyak missiles that they claimed could do this, but some of these missiles have been intercepted and shot down. They do not have like hypersonic navigation. I don't think they do. He's referring to China's anti-ship hypersonic missiles. Okay, maybe. I don't. Okay.
Is that we can get 1 million troops across the Atlantic Ocean if there's.
Well, no, because he's saying across the Atlantic to stop an invasion from the east, or is he saying China's going to invade from the east? China's going to invade Europe? I would assume he's talking about Russia. Who the fuck knows?
An invasion from the east. But we can't do that anymore because these hypersonic weapons.
Sorry, Kinzhal missiles, not Kislyak. My bad.
Which there's really no defense. There'd be so many troop carriers that would sink that the American people would not tolerate it anymore. Many troop hypersonic weapons, which there's really no defense. There'd be so many troop carriers that would sink that the American people would not tolerate it anymore. A lot of the assumptions that that current military strategy is based on are archaic.
You know, and on top of that, I mean, the FBI director just came out and said that
archaic. Our F-35s are archaic. Our power projection is archaic. I mean, like what? The last war the United States was involved in, we steamrolled Iraq in like 1 month. They like one of the largest ground army tank fleets in the world, as opposed to Russia, that is falling over itself to invade a country that barely had a standing army. I think like 10 years ago. Like, your power projection is weak as. In what? Where? How? How many bombing missions have we done where we can obliterate any target around the world at range? We don't have to send in ground troops sometimes. How many airfields have we? What is that? I'm getting baited. Never mind.
They have infiltrated our power grid and our water supply, our water treatment plants, and so I've been on top of this for a long time and talking about it for years. It sounds to me like it's.
Somebody said, "How does this look like Tim Pool?" This guy looks exactly like Tim Pool. Do you mean thrust vectoring missiles? Maybe. This is close enough.
Pretty much a light switch and the power goes out, and we're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
But well, thank you. let's get into your life story a little bit. Where did you grow up?
So I was one of 11 children.
Your building is
Okay, thank you for whoever linked me this video. Okay, so now when people are like, you hate RFK for no reason, and instead of me saying like, I feel like everything I've seen was, now I can point to even something more specific, and it's 1 day ago, so Jesus Christ.
research friendly.
Destiny, there is a good argument that exists that the philosophy of the U.S. Army to outspend on certain systems that provide an overwhelming advantage instead of a large scale of equipment is severely outdated and only works when you aren't fighting peer adversaries. Okay, I don't know what that argument would be. When was the last time two peers fought in a huge large-scale war? Like, how do we even... What would it have been? Like World War II? When was the last time a war like that happened? Unless you consider Iraq and the United States as peers, but I don't know if you would.
Are we being invaded?
Who would even be our peers now? Would it just be Russia and China?
I will not be trifled with.
We must act. Though I began.
I literally drop $100 to see you go through Laserpig's new video on how to kill a god. It goes really deep into Russia/Ukraine war and the propaganda so like maybe okay.
Insufficient gold.
Time is short, mortal.
Time has come.
Is it time? Our will.
At Destiny, I am not baiting. The USA is a massive, powerful, and important global player to the political and economic system that we live in. The problem with that is that Obama was not strong enough in Syria and Ukraine to show that if you fuck with us, we will do more pain. As the USA continues to be very protective / shy of using its power, it's showing that as long as you know how to fuck with you, we can fuck with you. Wait, what did you say earlier? I feel like you said something earlier that I disagree with. I think I agree with that statement, especially looking at Israel more.
Is there trouble?
There must be arguments against this, but I don't know what those arguments are. One of the things that I said after I got out of my last relationship that is that when you set boundaries for other people, not only does it make you feel better because you're setting a boundary that makes you comfortable, it also makes the other person feel better because they know how to operate. They know how they can interact with you and engage with you in a way that doesn't make you upset, that makes everybody happy. I think that having incredibly strict and powerful kinetic responses to red lines, even though it might seem harsh or cruel, I think it makes the world a more peaceful place because people know exactly what they can do and exactly what they can't do. I feel like Obama's red lines relating to Syria were probably some of the worst foreign policy decisions the United States has made, probably since the Iraq War. That if Obama truly felt that Assad was using chemical warfare against his people, then the response to that chemical warfare should have been obliteration of some Syrian military targets. I think that the feeling should be, in the world that if the United States tells you not to do something, and you do it, that you could face annihilation. That should be the feeling. Like, okay, well, the U.S. said no, we're gonna go for it. Like, okay, that's fair, you can go for it. But like, you will be wiped from the face of this earth. That once that disappears, once your deterrence disappears there, it gives people way more flexibility to do bad and stupid things. Like, the only thing that we should be worried about on this planet are non-state actors, because eliminating them is hard. You don't know what to hit. But state actors, actual countries, actual UN-recognized states should absolutely not be in a fuck-around position, because the find out should come almost instantaneously after it happens. Yeah, that would be my feeling on it. So did Obama make a mistake with Crimea? What should he have done? For Crimea, I don't think.
I will not be trifled.
Crimea is harder because Ukraine's not part of not part of NATO. So no, I don't think that there was anything we could do about Crimea. And I think wisely we didn't set any red lines relating to Ukraine. I'm not aware of any of that. But a red line was set for Syria. That's my understanding, and that red line was crossed, and the United States did nothing. I think that's really, really, really bad. I think that just sets a horrible precedent.
Are we being invaded?
Do you think that Biden's red line to Israel invading Rafah was bad foreign policy? If that truly was a red line that he set, then yeah, it would be. I don't remember what exactly was said on that. I have to go and check. But I don't know if it was an actual red line or if it was like you just need to make sure the civilians are evacuated first or something. I know I've heard it said over and over again that there was a red line, but I had to see exactly what was stated or what was said there. to have a thing about it. But yeah, he said you can't set a red line and not follow through. If you set a red line and you don't follow through, it undermines you so much. Your word has to mean something, right? Because in absence of your word, it's military force, so your word has to carry a lot.
Our will shall be done.
Wouldn't pro-Russian propaganda say that Ukraine joining NATO was a red line Putin had to give a kinetic response to? Ukraine was never going to join NATO. Or if it was, it's like decades into the future. Like it's not like that was never immediately on the table. To be honest, I think it's bad that we waited all the way to Trump's term to start sending Ukraine things like javelins. Obama should have been much more forceful about Ukraine pushing back militarily. Yeah, I probably think so. I wasn't as politically wise as Ukraine. If I had to guess, Obama's position was probably weakened by one of the most maybe the most obstinate Senate in U.S. history, with McConnell, and the fact that the United States probably had almost no appetite for any kind of foreign affairs. Was even today is still occupied by Iraq. People view you should be like I think the most loving kind of person in real life. This is true too. We know this personally. The people that you have the most respect for, and the people that you want to be leaders, can always be described as tough but fair. These are always the people that you want in charge of organizations, in charge of groups, in charge of countries, in charge of whatever. You always want people that are tough but fair, right? What that usually means is that if you fuck up, like, hellfire will rain down upon you. There will be consequences for your mistakes, and everybody else will face those consequences too. But as long as you're doing your best, you're trying to stay in line, they're fair, and they'll do what you deserve and what's expected by them. Tough but fair is important. Pushovers are always bad leaders. They're always bad leaders. They're fun for a little bit. It's fun to have a pushover as a leader because you can get away with a lot of bullshit, but everybody else can too, and eventually things start to fall apart.
Are we being invaded?
Explain why Mearsheimer is bad. I watched his interview and thought he was very smart and cool. My understanding is that, and I'm going by what other foreign policy writers have written about him, so I'm relying on their interpretations. My understanding is that Mearsheimer was very much afraid of the fall of the Soviet Union. He thought that multipolarity in Europe was necessary to ensure some level of security and safety for the people in Europe. And I think that his major take was that with the fall of the Soviet Union, Europe would descend into constant armed conflict and chaos. It would just be a permanent hellfire war zone because you need multiple strong powers in order to balance out the continent. And that prediction just was entirely and completely not true. It wasn't predictive at all. It was completely wrong. And then his analysis of, more specifically, his analysis of everything relating to Russia, on some points I believe has been factually incorrect. He repeats that Baker one-line East bullshit. And then on other points it's just feels like on current events, it just feels like Russian talking points, like just repeating like the propaganda lines. I just haven't heard Mearsheimer ever say anything. It's like, oh, that was pretty insightful or intelligent. It just seems like he's giving like basically Twitter takes. That's my impression of everything I've heard him say.
Insufficient gold.
Doesn't our public opinion on the wars kind of force our leaders to be pushovers to get elected? If the U.S. joined a war nowadays, the far left and right would freak the fuck out. Yeah, but I mean, I think the United States, I think U.S. leaders, I think that Ben Shapiro said this, and I agree with him. I've said this for a long time. I'm sorry. He agrees with me, okay? That the United States needs to be more honest about our foreign policy. We need to be honest about what we're trying to achieve and what we're doing, rather than this weird, like, oh, we want to spread democracy to everybody. That bullshit. That's not true. Our goal is for the safety and security of the United States and U.S. interests and allies, here and abroad. That's what U.S. foreign policy should be about. And that's a good foreign policy, by the way. It's practically defensible insofar as like our economy and our relationships with other people go. And I think it's morally defensible. I would rather the U.S. be in charge of world affairs than fucking China or Russia. I think we conduct ourselves in a morally superior way, not perfectly, but in a morally superior way to those countries. Yeah.
Our will
Our warriors have engaged.
Welcome for the vid link. I appreciate the fact checking and pushback on RFK Jr. I want to see an interview with you and him because
We
in
can't
my
build there.
he's experienced much pushback. I mean, if it's possible to get me on, sure, there we go. Oh, I am in my experience. Why are Americans so anti-American? Why don't they have any pride in their country, being the superpower of the world? Do you think this is a result of too much freedom? Or I think it's the fact that we don't have any enemies to fight, so we just kind of like turn in on ourselves. And I just think that Americans in general have done a bad. They've been bad at justifying like the things that they've done. So we don't have any arguments for why America, why